Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Juliet. In today's video we will be making a simple flared dress with a yoke and a balloon sleeve and inseam pockets. So here's my fabric. I folded it into two using the bust measurement I'm working with, divided by 4 plus 5 inches of allowance, and then the shoulder to the half length plus 1 inch of allowance. So here I'm marking the shoulder measurement divided by 2. So shoulder divided by 2 is what I marked down, and then I'm going to mark the armhole, which is 8 inches. So next I'm going to connect the armhole line like so, and then on this folded end I marked 3 inches inwards, and then on the armhole line I came down by ½ inch, and then I connected that 3 inches point in a slant. So next, using my armhole curve, I am curving my armhole. So next I am marking 6 inches, which is going to be the length of the yoke. So from the shoulder down I measure 6 inches, and I'm going to connect that into a straight line like so. Next I'm marking the neck width, which I used 4 inches, and then the neck depth, which is also 4 inches. I went ahead to curve the neckline out, and I also extended the yoke line like so. This is the front piece. We're not going to be cutting the armhole yet until much later. So here I am marking the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with plus ½ inch of allowance. So nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus ½ inch. I marked it all the way down, and I'm using my ruler to connect into a straight line. Next up, I'm marking the shoulder to nipple and then the shoulder to the under bust that I am working with. I'm going to mark it all across and then connect with a ruler. So next, on this under bust line, I'm going to mark 1½ inches outwards from the nipple to nipple point. I'll do that down and then connect with a ruler. Then using my curved ruler, I'm going to make a curve to the nipple point from that under bust like so. Up here on that line, I'm going to mark 1 inch outwards and then ½ inch inwards. I will connect both points to the nipple point. Then on this down part, I'm going to mark ½ inch inwards from that line and connect to the bust point as well. So next we're going to be cutting. I am cutting the shoulder slant first, and then I will cut out the yoke all the way out. Remember, I said we'll not be cutting the armhole yet until much later. And then I'm also cutting out the neckline. So I'm notching this upper part so I don't get confused while sewing. So this is it for the front. We're going to go on to cut the back. So for the back piece as well, my fabric is folded into two. I used the same bust measurement divided by 4 plus 5 inches of allowance. And then the length is from the shoulder to half length plus 1 inch of allowance. So here at this end, I'm marking 1½, which is the zipper allowance. I'm going to use my ruler to connect it like so. The next, I'm marking the shoulder measurement I'm working with divided by 2. After that, I connected with a ruler, and then I marked the armhole that I'm working with, which is 8 inches. And then using my armhole curve, I'm going to make a curve like so. So next, on this zipper allowance line, I'm going to mark 3 inches inwards, and then on the armhole line I'll come down by ½ inch and then connect to that 3 inches point. Next, I'm marking the neck width, which is 4 inches, the same as the front, and then the neck depth, which is 2 inches for the back. So I'm not adding any yoke to the back, it's going to be like this all through. So down here on that zip line, I am marking 4 inches, which is the nipple to nipple I'm working with, divided by 2 plus ½ inch. I'm going to make a notch there. That is where the dart is going to sit later. Then here I came in by ½ inch, and then on the shoulder I came down by 9 inches. I am going to connect that ½ inch to that 9-inch point in a slant. This is to help eliminate the zip bulge at the back. So next, I'm cutting. So next up, I am cutting the yoke. So that tiny piece we removed from the front piece, I placed it on top of this lace fabric that I folded into 2 to cut out the yoke. So using my pins, I held it in place, and then I'm adding ½ inch on the down part all through. So I marked ½ inch, I added ½ inch to it. That's it. I am going to cut the rest of the yoke, is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to place it again and cut the second piece of the lace. We're going to use that to turn the yoke. You can either cut one and use a bias strip to finish the neckline, or cut 2 and turn it just like I'm doing. So next I'm going to place them right sides together, and then I will go sew round the neckline using ½ inch. After that, we will turn it to the right side. So next I'm going to go cut lining pieces for these front pieces and the back piece, and I will also part the front pieces. As you can see, I will link a video down below on how to part this. You can also check my previous video, it's the same process. So next we're going to go join, starting from the down part like so. Place right sides together, side pieces to the center. Start from the down, very important, and then I will do the same for the lining as well. And then for the back piece, we're going to mark the dart. So I'm going to mark the zip allowance again. From that ½ inch we took out, I'll mark a new 1.5 and then connect it back to that point. Then for the dart, I'll mark the same 4 inches here and then connect to that notch that we already made. Then I'm marking ½ inch on both sides. I'll connect to that 9 inches point, and then we will go sew the darts in place. I will repeat the same thing for the second back piece and then the lining pieces. So here they are. I've sewn all the 4 darts and I've ironed them. They're looking smooth. And then I have also ironed the front pieces. I've joined them together and I have ironed it. So next I'll place the back pieces right sides together, main fabric to lining, and I'll go sew the neckline and the zip side. I'll do the same thing for the second back piece. Place right sides together, sew the neckline using ½ inch, and then the zip side as well using ½ inch. So this is the front piece. I've also ironed it, and this is the yoke as well. Turned it out and I've ironed. So I'm going to fold into 2 and then notch the middle. Then I will place that midpoint onto the midpoint of the front, the upper part of the front piece. So that is it. I'm going to place the lining on top of it, right sides together, and then we will go sew using half of an inch. After sewing, this is what it's looking like. I have ironed and it's looking smooth. So this is the back pieces as well. I have turned the neckline out, and this is what we have. So here I am going to mark 1 inch, which is the zip allowance. I will mark 1 inch all the way down, and then we're going to go join that together using a loose stitch, because we're going to be taking that out to install the zipper later. So here is it. I've sewn and I have also ironed. This is what we have. So next I will be marking the measurements that I am working with. So down here from that zip line, I will mark 1/4 of the half length round, and then up here I will mark 1/4 of the bust measurement from that zip line, and then using my ruler I'll connect both points together. I'm going to turn it to the other side and repeat the same thing. If you have been watching me for some time, I'm sure you're familiar with this process. So I turned this way and I repeated the same thing. Next step, I open it up and then I check again to be sure that I have the accurate measurement. So from this line to this line, I check to be sure I have half of the half length round, and then if I don't, I will make the necessary adjustments. And then on this upper part as well, I will check from this line to this line to be sure that I have half of the bust measurement I'm working with. So if all is good, I'm going to place both front and back pieces right sides together, and then I will go sew the sides and also join the shoulders. So after sewing, this is what we have. I can now trim the armhole using the back piece. As you can see, I'm doing the same thing on this other side, and I will also reduce the seam allowances to about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So I'm using my zigzag scissors to do that. You can also overlock at this point if you want to. So next up, I folded it into two. This is the wrong side, so this is the zip side, center back. I came up by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect that 1 inch to this side seam. This is to further eliminate the zip bulge. This is going to give the back more fitting. So after that, this is what the upper part is looking like. Next up, I am opening the zip side. Remember I said you should sew that with a loose stitch. So I'm going to take that out, and then I will measure round the lower part from that zip side from one end to the other end. Then whatever I have, I divide that by 3.14. I keep the answer aside, and then I subtract the half length from the full length I am working with, and then I add the two together. So here I have about 55 inches. So I'm measuring 55 inches on my fabric. After that, I folded it into two, which means I have 55 inches twice. After folding that 55 into two, I'm going to fold it again in form of a triangle, as you can see. So I'm making a long dress, while the one on the thumbnail is a short one, so it's the same process, just use your own length. So here I'm marking what I got from dividing that half length round by 3.14, and I also added 1 extra inch to it. I'm measuring round to be sure that I have more than 1/4 of that plus the excess that we added. So I added 1 in there. From the top now, I'm going to place my tape again and then mark the full length that I got. That's the 55 I mentioned. I'll mark it all around, so you mark your length that you're working with. So after cutting it out, this is it here, folded into 4 again. So this point here is the center front, and then the other part that is open with the edge is the center back. So on this side now that I'm ironing, we're going to have the pocket there. You can just open it up into two, but I don't want to open it all the way down, so I just measure about 9 to 10 inches and then cut open that point. That is going to be on the side. That will be the side seams. So after cutting that open, I'm going to be marking the pocket. I measured 8 inches this way, and then I placed my hand and just made a curve around it like so. So I'm going to be cutting 4 of these pieces. There are so many ways to cut or make an inseam pocket. This is the simplest for me. So I'm going to place this again and cut 4 of them, 2 for one side and then 2 for another side. So after cutting all the 4 pocket pieces, here's the lower skirt, and then this is the side seam I was talking about. So on the right side, I'm going to place the right side of the pocket to the right side of the skirt. So I needed to open it a little bit more. You can just open it all the way down. I just didn't want that. So if you're going to open it all the way down, there'll be no need for this. So here I'm coming down by 1 inch from the waistline, and then from there I will pin the pocket. I'm going to do the same thing for all the 4 sides. So on the right side, I'll come down by 1 inch, and then I'll place the pockets right sides facing each other. Right side of the pocket to the right side of the flare piece. So next I'm going to go sew all the pockets to the skirt piece using about 1/4 of an inch. Just sew from where the pocket starts and then from where they stopped. So after sewing the pockets, this is what we have. So now it's placed right sides facing each other, front and then the back. So next we're going to go sew from this point, follow the pocket like that using 1/2 inch all the way, and then you come out and then sew all the way down using 1/2 of an inch. I'll repeat the same thing on this side. Arrange them together like so, and then using 1/2 of an inch, just go sew all the way like that. You come out and then sew all the way down. So after sewing, this is what the skirt part is looking like. The next thing we are going to do is join it to the upper part of the dress. So you're going to make sure that the side seams are matching. So the side seam of the upper part and the side seam of the lower part are matching. After that, you can just pleat in any excess that you have. The side seams must match. So I'll go join that together and also add the zip at the back, and this is what we have so far. This is what it's looking like. So next up we'll go over to cutting the sleeve. So here I am using the same Ankara fabric to cut the sleeve. So I folded it into 4 here. So the sleeve is going to be 15 inches wide, and then you will add 6 inches to the length of your sleeve. So if your sleeve is 10 inches, you add extra 6, making it 16. So on this open end of the sleeve, I came down by 6 inches and then I made a curve. My sleeve here is wider than 15 inches, but I later reduced it. So 15 inches is what your wideness should be. And then your length, you add 6 extra inches to it. That's the only way the puffiness is going to come out. So you come down by 6 inches on the open end and then make a curve. And we are going to cut that out. So I folded into 4 here. So I'm opening the down part. That way we have 2 separate sleeves. So next I'm going to go make an elastic casing on the down part. I'm going to go fold like so. And so I will do the same thing for the second sleeve. So after making the elastic casing, I just used the bicep measurement I'm working with here, plus minus 4 inches. So that is the length of the elastic. Using my safety pin, I'm going to pass it through this casing, and I will pin it down as soon as it gets in on this one end, and then I will continue passing it through until we get to the other side. So once we get to this other side, I'm going to use a pin to hold it in place as well. Then I will go join together on the sides. I'll fold it right sides together, and I will go and sew on this other end using 1 inch. I'll repeat the same thing for the second sleeve. So after joining it, this is what we have. Next, we're going to join it to the main dress. So here is the dress. I've arranged the armhole side, as you can see. So from this shoulder point, I come down by 2.5 inches. You can make it 3, you can make it 2, or thereabout. So I just marked it on both sides. So I'm going to match the side seam of the sleeve to the side seam of the dress. I'll match side seams together, as you can see. Then I will, after matching the side seams, together, I'm going to pin. Just pin it as it is till we get to that 2.5 inches point. So I pin it the way it is. Once we get to that 2.5 inches point, I'm going to turn to this other side again and do the same thing. Pin it the way it is until we get to that point. So once we get to the 2.5 inches point on this other side, we're going to now match the center of the midpoint of the sleeve to the shoulder. Once that is done, I went ahead to make pleats into that space. So from this other point to the other point, we're just going to make pleats all the way the upper part like that. After making all the pleats, I'm going to go sew around, and this is what you will have. I have already done the other sleeve, and this is what it's looking like. So I go sew the other side, and that will be it for this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Please like, share, comment, and Subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.